Chapter 21. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. I roughly knew how to wield this great sword. I do have the compensation of evolving into a gladiator for proficiency, but I also remembered hearing stories and explanations from other warriors who had wielded the great sword. There were three important aspects. First, efficiently using its reach; second, to not mindless swing it. Lastly, to not be dragged from its weight. Since it is a weapon with a lot of weight, it was extremely important not to lose control. Withdrawing my sword, I quickly swung at the first long-fanged tiger before me. Wyack. The sound of the slicing wind. The first thought that came into my mind. Imposing. It was dimensions apart from that scrap steel sword. Pock. The sound simultaneously accompanied the long-fanged tiger as it tumbled onto the ground. It wasn't a bad first attack, but the problem was that it did not cut. Of course the fact that the tiger had died was true, but it was my lack of skill that wasn't able to slice that fella into two pieces. Instantly, I slammed the hilt of my large greatsword onto the rushing beast from my side. You bear-like bastard. Honestly, it did look like a bear. Anyhow, the oncoming number of beasts was quite many in numbers. With this much, it might be even more intense and fierce than the battle in the northern forest. But, we were definitely stronger. Our whole clan had evolved once more with that completed quest. Though I did not have a race evolution, but I'm an orc gladiator. To be devoured by these beasts would be extremely shameful as an orc gladiator by title. Once more, I swung down my greatsword. Pock. The head of the beast cracked along with the sound. Again, I saw the other beasts leaping towards me. Releasing my grip on the greatsword, I drew my dagger out from my belt and thrust it into another beast's neck. Not bad. Pulling out the greatsword fixed firmly on the ground, I swung it widely at the rushing beasts. Kaya. Before I knew it, I was screaming. Good. My body was flowing into the movement. To be honest, there were still a few disjointed movements which I was unsatisfied with, but the feeling overall wasn't too bad. It wasn't just because of the proficiency buff as a gladiator why I could fight like this. 10 years of experience. Experimenting with various weapons in order to live, all those traits I picked up along the way was contributing to my performance. Of course it's embarrassing to an extent to try and compare this to other existences. But it's joyful. Koreak. My sightline reddened as my breath became rough. My body didn't betray my response. Quickly moving, I practically suppressed those beasts down thoroughly before me. I slowly began to inspect my surroundings. Everyone else was defending their position in their own way and style of battle. Excluding the archers and magicians, all the green skins were advancing forward as if they were competing who would attain more achievements. Against beasts that couldn't be defeated one by one, they cooperated. The three superior goblin warrior siblings were in the midst of battling against 5 beasts. The first and second orc warriors were very bravely swinging their swords as well. Kaya. For blood dagger. Girik. For blood dagger. I'm not sure exactly what kind of impression I left for them to shout my name, but the feeling wasn't bad at all. Rather, I felt more energized. Once more, I looked around. Goth was indeed standing out amongst the guys. He was definitely strong. With 2 axes, he was continuously destroying the beasts' heads as if he was a berserker crazy for blood. The other green skins that were in his clan were also those that admired bravery, so all of them had large frames. The ones that were in the front lines were busily clashing resolutely against the beasts with their axes and large swords. Even though they had sustained wounds, they didn't retreat. It's a bit funny to say this, but Goth's clan and mine were well matched. As if a silent thief was looking on behind a warrior. Here and there, I began to see hobgoblins with dagger symbols drawn on their face. These guys too were beginning to understand how to efficiently kill their opponents. Instinct rather than fighting with their brains. Likewise I as the same. To fight instinctively as an orc. Along with 10 years of experience assimilated, my efficiency in battle was quite significant. Karuk. Victory or death. Boom. 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 It wasn't like all the green skins weren't uninjured. But, we were definitely beginning to repel the beasts back. Soon, screaming, some of the beasts began fleeing. However, Yunghaian's plants were blocking their paths from escaping. Kayahahaha, an unknown orc seeing this began to excitedly laugh from this spectacle. Its eyes were already red. The fact that the battle was prolonged caused his yearning fang to open and laugh aloud. Soon, the boxed-in area of slaughter began. The battle ended, and those that were hungry were busily shoveling the flesh of the beasts in their mouths. Goff, who was satisfied watching the scene, started to scream towards someone. And the honorable warrior's exam ends here. How dull. Kaya ha 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 ha. You call this an exam? Girick. Girick. He was definitely saying this to the hidden ones that were watching us. The goblins and orcs that were with Goff displayed their teeth as they laughed. At this point, even I was quite relieved. Beasts of this level wasn't something that normal monsters could contain, I thought. If it were ordinary green skins, then it's possible that over half of us would have been slaughtered, if not all. I was able to realize now why there were no monsters that was as weak as me. These green skins weren't planning on dragging along weak monsters from the start. Impressive. You are strong warriors. The next exam is to discover the land of glory that the chief patriarch resides. Warriors. The voice that resounded once more. Despite being insulted, it was a voice that didn't shake. It seems that it was greatly alarmed by us. Or that it was controlling its anger. Hearing the voice as it is, it's probably the former. To hear that honest alarmed voice from the monster, to call it a lie was extremely difficult. Rather, it was us that were trembling within our voices. Chief. Patriarch. It's the chief patriarch. Karuk. It seems that the chief patriarch means a great deal to the green skins and the monsters. Thanks to that, Goff, as if he was bored, turned his back towards his clan members and began to approach them. Karuk. The land of glory where the chief patriarch resides. We depart now. It seems that he was excited by the word chief patriarch. But, we can't depart immediately. I blocked Goff as I opened my mouth. Karuk. We won't depart immediately. Goff. First, we need to settle these beasts and rest. What are you saying? It's the chief patriarch's exam. Blood dagger. We don't know just how far the land of the chief patriarch is. Goff. We don't even know where this place is. It could be a path of long travel. We need to have our subordinates rest, find water and stockpile food before moving. That is a wise chief. This place has nothing but trees. We don't even know for sure where the land of the chief patriarch is. If it was close, it wouldn't be a problem to depart now, but it clearly said that the road to the land of the chief patriarch was an exam. It was highly probable that this chief patriarch was quite far away. Concluding my speech, Goff was quietly gazing at me. Gradually raising his fangs up, he spoke. I understand. Blood dagger. Your words definitely hold some truth. Thank you. What you said to that voice earlier made me very refreshed. Goff. Karuk. Thanks. Then, Goff including the other chiefs began screaming. Karuk. We sleep for the night here and move. Blood Dagger clan is to find water. Girick. Girick. Understood. Understood. Karuk. After an intense battle, rest was mandatory. No matter how strong the green skins were, accumulated fatigue wasn't easily recoverable. To all of you strong warriors. Are you not moving? Although the voice that was penetrating the trees was quite disturbing, but there was no need to hurriedly act. The greenskins, thus, began to chop down the trees with their axes, and with the leaves created a simple encampment. Despite no orders being passed down, everyone was busily searching for their own individual work. Even the Blood Dagger clan members that liked comfortable labor weren't being lazy. They were quickly searching the jungle and bringing back water from places, and created pouches from the leather of the dead beasts we hunted earlier. We were to store the meat elsewhere. As for the food, we precisely distributed it towards each of the tribes. This responsibility was left to the old goblin shaman. As for some, they began to lit a fire and cook the meat. Though they delighted in eating the meat raw, it seems they also took pleasure in eating cooked meat as well. If goblins had gathered like those group projects in university, there would never be any fights, I thought. That provocative voice soon stopped. From that, I was able to know that my assumption was right. This place was indeed an exam location. The monsters here were simple, but they were never stupid. For them to send us edible meat in the beginning, I couldn't help but think that it was some sort of gift prior to a long journey. I began to like that voice more and more. Once the atmosphere somewhat settled, the clan chiefs gathered and held a meeting. Blood Dagger Chiefs me, Goth Clan's Chief Goth, Dark Moon's Chief Dark Moon, and the other few clan chiefs whose names I haven't memorized yet. Karuk. By the way, for a chief patriarch. It seems there's a chief patriarch. To be honest, when it told us to find this orc chief patriarch out of nowhere, I was thinking what kind of bullshit this was. I was questioning the purpose of finding this chief patriarch itself. But, in this culture, the chief patriarch name wasn't something to make light of. Roughly asking MEV about it, I was able to attain the information that the chief patriarch was an individual of awe and praise from all greenskins. In the end, even if that guy didn't ask us to find the chief patriarch, it was something that the greenskins will definitely want to accomplish. We might not be the first greenskins to come across this place. If so, then it's certain that there is a chief patriarch here. I want to meet this place's chief patriarch as soon as possible. Karuk. Girik. But how do we know where this chief patriarch is? From Goff and Darkman's conversation, I quietly opened my mouth. Probably the one that's monitoring us will guide us. Though I can't precisely feel it, but that fella is still here. The probability that his job to lead the greenskins as a guide is high. If not, leaving this dense forest first is for the best. Good. Afterwards, after more discussion on our future actions, we concluded our not-so-long meeting. Afterward Berserker Goff is a killing machine. I seriously think that Goff probably killed more than MC in terms of numbers. P.S. It's hilarious to see how these green skins actually enjoy both cooked and raw meat. And you know that the chief patriarch is the real deal, seeing the way Goff reacted. Notice. In response to my reader's curiosity, I was extremely busy with some assignments due to my courses, so I wasn't able to be as active lately. 5-week courses are hell. Thank you for asking. As apologies, and also as thanks to all those that continued to support and donate despite that week long hiatus, I'll be releasing 4 more regular chapters plus a sponsor today. Have it all completed. Just need the last few to be proofread. Also, I'll translate and upload some bonus chapters over the weekend if I have the time. Thank you for your support and patience. 2/5, PR Afterward Sun Tzu. Recklessness, which leads to destruction, first of the 5 faults which may affect a general translator. Calvi's Proofreader. Psi 101. Chapter 22. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next morning. Pushing away Young Hei-Eon lying on my side slightly, I began rising up. As if last night was very satisfying, Young Hei-Eon's smiling lips shone in my sight. It was quite a good night. Whether it's the influence of the honey I'm not sure, but doing it was extremely different compared to a human. Though it's very apologetic to Choi Solji, who is probably struggling a lot in the continent at the moment, but it felt better. I slowly stood up. As if she was surprised from my action, she quickly covered herself up as she opened her mouth. I'm sorry. It seems that she's apologetic for waking up later than me, but I didn't really reply back. Instead, I stroked her hair once before beginning to head out. Karuk. Prepare your belongings. Pack up. Heading outside the tent, the first orc among the 5 loyal siblings was already making preparations to leave. The leather pouches made yesterday was full of drinking water that we were to drink, and the racks that the hobgoblins were carrying were full of food for the journey ahead. With this much, the preparation was very satisfactory. I definitely couldn't loiter around, so I began helping out, and after a while, all the green skins finished their preparations to depart. Karuk. Which direction do we head towards? I spoke towards the direction where I could roughly feel his presence. As expected, it seems he undertook the task of leading us. Soon, a voice replied without much waiting. South, other than that, I can't tell you anything else. I had somewhat anticipated it. Since this was an exam, I thought that there would be some sort of standard of difficulty. The continent was extremely large. To simply say south might have been very difficult to find the land of glory, but for me, it was a different story. The reason was that I had a bit of the continent's map in my memories. From last time, the north was home to the Queen of the North, the west had the Saint Knights and the Saint Swords. The south also had humans living there as well. If I recall, there was a magician protecting a desert city called Desert Orb. From that city, if you continually head east, is the land of the monsters. Of course the humans had called it the monsters' land, but that territory was definitely no entry. Other than the report that evil beasts lived there, there was no other information. The humans entered there, never returned. I had heard a rumor 5 years before my death that the desert city was completely destroyed, so with this rough inference, I thought that the Chief Patriarch's land of glory might be in that prohibited area. Despite being somewhat far-sighted, I never expected that the civilization of the monsters to be of this level. Definitely, there should be one. The Chief Patriarch of the land of the monsters. Roughly organizing my thoughts, after explaining the situation to Goff and Dark Moon, soon we were able to march towards the glorious land. The number was about 200. Who would have imagined that there was currently a large-scale monster movement being undertaken in the search for the Chief Patriarch's land of glory? Karuk. Let's go. To the land of glory. Boom. 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 As such, we marched. Although I knew that this journey wouldn't be as simple, but it was much more difficult than I had anticipated. As if the forest wasn't the home of evil beasts, it was greatly scarce of their presence. Rather, the place was so well preserved that I had even wondered that this place was a holy place for monsters who have completed the tutorial. That feeling was great. Leaving the forest, what we saw was an empty wilderness. I couldn't help but confirm after seeing the road. If we did not prepare water and food, then there would have been some green skins left behind along the way. Karuk. Your words were right. Blood dagger. Seeing this wilderness, Goff spoke, and in return, I nodded my head. The wilderness was extremely long. Truly, I couldn't see anything. So much so that there was even an ant roaming around. A complete, desolate wasteland. But the green skins walked without stopping. The drumming goblins that were pounding strongly were gradually lowering in volume, and the army's marching speed started to slow down. During this boring time, I either practiced or did image training, and if I was too bored, then I called Mivi or Young Hei-Eon and discussed things about this and that. The other clan members were also sharing a lot of their conversations. The goblins among the 5 siblings were the first to talk with me. Karuk. For Blood Dagger. Seeing me, they greeted me. I had thought my subordinates were quite noisy, but they were strangely quiet. As if they were embarrassed, they started to push each other forward. You go. No. No, Uni can go first, Girik. Like I mentioned before, the first and second both evolved into orc warriors. Though I'm not sure what they'll evolve into after surpassing the intermediate warrior level, but I was very satisfied by their quick growth. But, noticing that they practiced with their daggers often, I couldn't help but think that they might select the path of an assassin. I was quite anxious thinking about them possibly evolving into an ogre assassin later on. The unique situation, however, was the goblin siblings below. If the orcs do decide to evolve into assassins, then these goblins were really thinking of remaining as goblins to the end, as they were continually evolving into goblin warriors. Already evolving into intermediate goblin warriors, one was a goblin intermediate shield warrior, one was a goblin intermediate hammer warrior, and the last one had chosen to be an intermediate greatsword warrior. Though I had stayed around them for a bit, I was surprised at how much stronger their cooperation techniques were than from what I had expected. What was interesting was that their appearances were gradually becoming closer to that of a human. The other clan's superior goblins all had appalling appearances, so I couldn't help but ask how they were able to evolve their appearances similar to a human. How come you guys have faces similar to a human? That. We're not so sure as well. 2. To be honest, Captain. It was from when we heard of your strange fetish. Garuk. We too like that plant. That plant, human and MEV. Like MEV. To speak words like these with completely childlike faces, I had nothing to say. It seems that they too want to mate like MEV, but until they evolve out of the goblin race, there would be no instance where I would face those thoughts. The other clan members were, as usual, the same. The ratio of archers was high, and above all, the selection of assassins was high as well. It was quite disheartening to see that no one in the clan had chosen to be a shaman, but I thought it was a relief to have young Heian at least. At this time, after 20 days of marching, we escaped the empty wilderness. A distance far beyond our gathered thoughts, we began to preserve our food as much as possible. The army that only had one meal a day found marching hungry to be quite difficult. I'm hungry. Captain, I'm hungry. Just endure a bit longer. The other clans are restraining themselves a bit as well. Interestingly, no complaints arose. Rather, with the food restriction problem, the Goth clan that eats a lot more than the other clans began to reduce their rations and started to take care of the weak goblins, and thanks to that, the rest followed as well by sharing their rations. Despite that, however, goblins started to collapse. But, the clans fed the collapsed goblins and continued marching on. Before entering the desert after escaping the wilderness, we discovered an oasis. Everyone was thirsty, and in the large oasis, we hunted the surrounding beasts there and resumed our march once again. Despite the hard, painful times, none had any thoughts of having a snack. The canteen in our leather pouches weren't as sturdy. But our opponent was now the desert. Not long after, our canteens had run out of water. Despite that, the group continued to march. We started to first hunt the sandworms and the long-necked flame lizards found only in the desert. At this time, the archers began adjusting their eyes for prey. And the shamans started to slowly awaken water and other spells to make us all comfortable. The warriors that were enduring the scorching day of the desert had their bodies slowly adjust, becoming stronger, and soon after 30 days, I could sense that the clans has gotten a bit stronger as a whole. The most interesting part was that we haven't met any humans yet. Though we were randomly on a journey, I started to feel that someone was monitoring and guiding us. Though my body was in pain, internally, I was satisfied. With the archers' hunting of the sandworm-like monsters, we didn't have to curb our appetites, and due to our shaman's increased abilities, drinking water was definitely beginning to be distributed to each of the clans. As the journey continued, the warriors started competing against one another in duels. Though it wasn't a life or death battle, it provided quite a large entertainment in this tedious journey. Karuk. I can feel that I'm getting stronger. Right. Goff. We're getting stronger. We're getting stronger. That empty wilderness, and that desert that we endured miraculously. All these environments tempered our bodies. I could start to understand the purpose of this exam. It was completely different from that pretense teaching that the humans did. We were truly learning how to survive and become stronger. How come we weren't meeting any humans, and how come the archers weren't encountering really strong monsters? I wasn't able to find any traces leading to that answer. If I had not been a human before, then I wouldn't have questioned why I did not meet any other adventurers from the desert city as I traversed the desert. Like the cities ruled by the Saint Sword and the Queen of the North, Desert Orb was extremely large. I couldn't understand how we haven't encountered any humans at all, contrary to common sense. Wise. Were they monitoring us? No matter how much higher in level we are compared to the other green skins, compared to the ones that are already on the continent, we were severely lacking. The chief patriarch in the land of glory expects us not to have other impurities in our ascetic path. About 10 days later, not only me but the other clan members seemed to start to realize that we were being led. By this time, I started to organize my battle methods in my head. In fact, from the moment we departed, I have been strategizing in my head. I learned about the axe from Goff simply, and assimilated the usage on how to wield the shield and hammer from the 3 goblins. I even picked up the bow from Mevi. The duels also continued. Goff seemed to intentionally avoid a confrontation with me, but occasionally there were times when he looked at me with burning eyes of anticipation. It seems he's determined not duel with me until I restore my honor I had lost to the Queen of the North. So he and I looked at each other and trained by ourselves. Without a dueling opponent, I pushed my body alone endlessly and wielded the big sword on my back. As such, about 20 days later, we were able to step into the land of glory. TL afterward. Dang, magicians are so important. Making water out of spells. No wonder MC is sad that none in his clan decided to evolve into a shaman. And OMG huh, it seems the fetish of the despicable captain is quite well known throughout the tribe. P.S. These goblins are so humane and charitable. The strong ones looking after the weak goblins. And sharing food with the others by decreasing their own rations. Sniff asterisk, I feel like the humans are the actual monsters. Maybe it's the MC influencing me. Oh, and next chapter is called Chief Patriarch Agar. Any guesses on what kind of individual he'll be? Comment. Okay. Orc females are sexy as well. Note to self. Don't open the links on campus, notice. In response to my readers' curiosity, I was extremely busy with some assignments due to my courses, so I wasn't able to be as active lately. 5-week courses are hell. Thank you for asking. As apologies, and also as thanks to all those that continue to support and donate despite that week-long hiatus, I'll be releasing 4 more regular chapters plus a sponsor today. Have it all completed. Just need the last few to be proofread. Also, I'll translate and upload some bonus chapters over the weekend if I have the time. Thank you for your support and patience. 3/5, PR afterward. Puny humans, with skills in many weapons. I am stronger. The green skins show how a unified group can overcome grueling environments in this trialing journey, still make the most of it. Translator. Calvi's proofreader. Psi 101. Chapter 23. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Captain. I'm curious, Girik. When the Goff clan fight, they always cry, victory or death. The Blood Dagger clan also cries, victory. Only for victory. For Blood Dagger. I can somewhat understand what they're trying to say. But, the subordinates of the Chief Patriarch Agar would always cry a war chant I couldn't understand. Girik. It's been a while. So I can't really remember. But it was probably strength, wisdom and honor. What is this? Dark Moon Clan's young goblin. Passing the end of the desert, we entered a forest that looked devoid of life. After walking for some time, we realized how very dense the forest was. Due to the large trees, the clans had to walk around, and afterwards, we could see large plains ahead. Behind that, we could see countless number of green skins. Orc, ogre, goblin, and even werewolves and minotaurus-like races lined up the entrance of the forest. Right now, though there were some that did not possess green skin, I included them since they were the same green skins in the past. Soon, we moved one step forward. A large roar from thousands of voices burst out. For our brothers that have conquered the honorable exam. For our brothers that have stepped into the land of glory. Everyone had one hand laying on their chest while shouting towards us. The sight was a spectacle to behold. In this large plain, countless green skins were making way for us who had just entered the land of glory. At the end of the rows upon rows of lined-up green skins was a large castle built of trees. The land of glory. Goff mumbled as he walked quietly with me inwards. With Goff like this, the reaction of the goblins and hobgoblins was obvious. They were already jumping here and there while celebrating that they had stepped on the land of glory. Girick. Girick. The Goff clan has stepped into the land of glory. Blood Dagger clan stepped in the land of glory first. It's the land of glory. It was a difficult journey, but Mv and Young Hei Eon were joyfully walking along behind me. The satisfaction that I could never feel as a human swarmed around my body. It was hard, but we did it. Despite continually walking, the lined-up rows of green skins had no end. In a human perspective, it wasn't an exaggeration to call this a city. With this many troops, I thought that it wasn't unreasonable for these troops to conquer the desert city 5 years later. And that each one were of the strongest kind. Of course not all were strong, but if they were to immediately go to any city, they would be ones that would receive the treatment of a 3rd grade summoned or higher. As such, once we walked towards the end of the lined green skins, the castle gate of the tree castle very slowly opened. We welcome our new brothers that have arrived to the land of glory. What we saw was an orc. A very normal-looking orc. As if he had some age, there were wrinkles on his green skin, but his fangs was larger than any other orc. Soon, he extended his hand and greeted us, causing me to understand who he was. Chief Patriarch. My instincts already knew. I was able to see why the other green skins were so enthusiastic about the Chief Patriarch. Funny enough, there was admiration of respect filling my chest. Ridiculous to even mention, but I began to feel the traces of honorable battles that the orc had lived. This proved that not anyone could be a Chief Patriarch even if you gather and assemble a lot of clans. As such, the old orc gazed at us. And not long after the orc had placed his hand, a thunderous roar from all directions erupted. Strength. Wisdom. Honor. Goff and I, including all the subordinates, began to naturally raise our hands. Soon, when we pounded our hands on our chests, the Chief Patriarch opened his mouth once more. I am called Chief Patriarch Agar of this land of glory. My brothers. As if his eyes were peering into my soul, I was forced to lower my head in the eyes of the Chief Patriarch. Like that, we entered the land of glory. Entering, I looked around my surroundings. There were tents already installed for each clan to use. What I was pleased with was that all the basic necessities were already dispatched to each individual. Although in a monster's perspective, the basic necessities were just blankets and leather pouches, but for them to still provide us. It seems they had already known the number of clans and the number of each group as a whole. Koreak. The supervisor that tested us from earlier had already known about everything. Yes. It definitely seems so. It's so interesting. That the monsters are rather more humane than the humans, I assume you want to say. Yes. Yes. Just from the tutorial. Funny to admit, I feel more secure and safe after evolving than when I was with the humans together before. She wasn't discussing about the probability of being attacked by monsters, but rather the sentence itself. Jung Haeun's figure is definitely beautiful. Probably, with the excuse of protection, there would have been a lot of bastards barking around her in my expectation. Jung Hae-yeon, who entered this continent as a human, wouldn't know just how much the humans living in the city are rotten. It seems she's quite satisfied with choosing to become an Alron now, but if she were to hear of the stories inside the city, she would definitely not regret evolving into an Alron. The reason is that if you were to compare it against the human cities, then it wouldn't be an exaggeration to call the Land of Glory a haven. When you enter a human city for the first time, you definitely receive some treatment. The problem is the aftermath. After the instructors and guilds come and sort out the decent cattle, the rest are blatantly abandoned. The abandoned summoned fates are obvious. For women, they are subjected to become prostitutes, and if their luck is good, they are sold to high-ranking pig bastards, and as for men, they become poor beggars who depart for adventures only to die. Thinking about it now, it's funny, but in Choi Solji's case, she refused all the proposals of living as a pig's concubine and decided to rather live on her own will by selling her body. Of course, at first she decided to live as a thief on the continent, but things never progressed smoothly as planned. As for me, I was a somewhat lucky case. Though I died ridiculously at the end, but surviving for 10 years was a case where one lived for quite a long time. While I was thinking of useless thoughts, the sudden silence caused me to start staring at Jung Hae-yeon. Jung Hae-yeon, too, was staring at me as her face reddened. She knew what I wanted roughly. Opening her petals, she began to approach me. For her to aggressively come out like this, it seems that she too wants more. It was then. Blood dagger. Goff suddenly opened the tent and entered. Entering and seeing our bodies intertwine, what he said afterwards was even more of a highlight. So you were in the midst of mating. Moderately finish and let's go together. The chief patriarch calls. In Goff's eyes, there was no expression of embarrassment or shock whatsoever. If you were to analyze that, it was just an expression of, so blood dagger was mating. It seems that amongst the green skins, these kinds of events were nothing embarrassing, so I just nodded and rose up. Jung Hae-yeon was mumbling, "Mom. What should I do?" as she hurriedly entered into the blankets, but Goff already left the tent. "TCH. I'll be back." "Yes. Take your time." In fact, it is not a couple of times that he got into such an accident. The reason is that he and I were sharing tents. It's sharing by word, but in truth, it was nothing impressive. After being naturally much closer during the journey, from then on, Goff and I were able to enter each other's tents without permission. The Blood Dagger clan and the Goff clan also has the atmosphere of not making trouble in each other's camps despite being in same territory. I'm not sure myself, but the fact that the green skins share tents is something that happens quite often. It is only possible to live in the same tents in the society of the green skins with your family and blood-related brothers, but the fact that they share the same tents could only be possible if they can think of each other as true brothers. I was grateful and happy that Goff thinks of me as a true brother, but it was also quite embarrassing to have these kind of situations happen as a human. But, still, seeing how he doesn't find me at night, it's a relief that he has some sort of respect for my privacy, but the problem was that I do the same likewise. In the end, I thought that I was at fault for having sexual desires as I began to leave. Girik. So you've come, Blood Dagger. Well. Yes, Dark Moon. It seems I'm the slowest. Seeing the clan chiefs heading somewhere together, the goblins began to noisily scream. Girik. The chiefs are going somewhere. Girik. They're going to meet the chief patriarch. The chief patriarch. Those guys are energetic as always. I'm not sure why the chief patriarch called us, but it seems that perhaps he plans on eating a meal together with the new clans that have entered the Land of Glory. Or it might be that he's planning on explaining how this place runs. Anyways, while walking, I began to see places of the land of glory enter my sight. To be honest, I couldn't look around since we were so busily moving towards our distributed tents at the time. The greenskins live a basic lifestyle, but they do have civilization. They build houses, go out to hunt, gather together under one conviction to live a tribal life. But, in this place, these greenskins were more than I imagined. Their civilization was a lot more developed than I had thought. They had their own rules and way of living. For instance, there are places under flags intended for fighting. Battles are to be done under the chief patriarch's flag. It doesn't matter if you are injured, but you cannot kill the opponent. All trades are to be done fairly. Greenskins that afflict weaker brothers will receive severe punishment. They keep order here. They know what honor is. To an extent where I was proud to be a greenskin. Looking here and there, we garnered the attention and gazes of the many chiefs. Once we entered the large chief patriarch's tent made of wood, there was a flag standard behind each chief. There was one drawn of a black snake, and another with a large axe. But, what stood out above all was their power. I wasn't able to know exactly, but I could feel it within my skin. The power here. There were none that were weaker than me. Welcome, brothers. For strength, wisdom, and honor. For Chief Patriarch Agar. We were able to enter the tent once Goff greeted on behalf of all of us. TL afterward, who said greenskins are simple and stupid. That Chief Patriarch looks damn intelligent and wise. Even more than the MC. I wonder just how strong he is. MC bowed his head and had admiration with just one look from the Chief Patriarch. And all the chiefs aren't weaker than MC, holy. PS werewolves plus minotaurs. Damn, I'd love it if some of the greenskins in Blood Dagger clan could evolve to one of those species. Notice. In response to my readers' curiosity, I was extremely busy with some assignments due to my courses, so I wasn't able to be as active lately. 5-week courses are hell. Thank you for asking. As apologies, and also as thanks to all those that continue to support and donate despite that week long hiatus, I'll be releasing 4 more regular chapters plus a sponsor today. Also, I'll translate and upload some bonus chapters over the weekend if I have the time. Thank you for your support and patience. For /5, PR afterward what I think Tree Castle looks like. http://buzzard.com/2861554.tree.castle.fantasy.id 147877.htm http://68.media.tumblr.com/4f7716f10d734b4168818604826b3/tumblr_nnd849f-wd1tv3g4901_500.jpg Calvi's Proofreader. Psi 101. Chapter 24. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Bring anything shiny over. I will listen to any request. Anything except killing the greenskins. Green Goblin Clan's Auctioneer, welcome. Welcome. Our brothers. Monsters centered around Chief Patriarch Agar greeted us with a welcome. Everyone raised their hands to their chest once again, so we acted likewise. Sit comfortably. We were able to sit down once Chief Patriarch Agar spoke. I thought it was just words to sit comfortably, but it really seemed that we could sit anywhere. Once we roughly all sat down, a large treatment would be delivered to us as the orcs soon began to show what a large treatment was. A sweet aroma continued to swarm my nose. Alcohol. It seems that they definitely had brewing techniques. When I was a human, I heard that the alcohol made by trolls were that delicious, and when I heard that, I discussed against the possibility that monsters were able to drink alcohol in a battle of pros and cons with Choi Solji. Seeing this scene, I was forced to admit that Choi Solji's argument was right. Raise it. As such, the banquet commenced. There was no act of banging the cup or shouting unlike the first time we met, but we just smiled and exchanged cups. It was definitely delicious. That first aromatic dish. Compared to the cheap drinks that I had used to drink, I felt that this was of a higher quality. Unlike the conjecture that they had called us just not simply to drink alcohol, we were drinking continuously, so at the point where I thought that we would end up just drinking and leaving, Agar looked at us and resumed his talk. Come to think of it, I haven't heard of your names yet. With Agar's words, Goff was the first to nod his head. It seems it'll start with simple self-introductions. I wasn't used to these kinds of position. To be able to speak my name to the chief patriarch is an honor. I am the chief of the Goff clan, Goff. It's an honor. Chief Patriarch. I am Korza, chief of the Dark Moon clan. Following chief was the Dark Moon clan's old shaman. The rest in order introduced their names. Seeing that the clan members weren't speaking, it seems it wasn't appropriate for them to speak. I had plans of introducing myself as Blood Dagger before this started, but thanks to Dark Moon clan's elder, things got a bit more difficult. The reason was that I, indeed, didn't know what my name was. Soon, my turn came, and I was left wavering. Whether I should use my name from my human period, Kim Tae-sung. Or if I had to roughly create a similar name, I was in a dilemma. I am Blood Clan's chief. Blood Dagger. In the end, I expressed myself like this, causing everyone to be suspicious. They weren't expressions which implied that I was rude or reckless. But, a truly suspicious face. Thankfully, Goff was there to solve their curiosity. What green skin would hesitate to reveal their name in front of the chief patriarch? However, Blood Dagger has lost his honor in his sacred battle. He is ashamed to reveal his name in front of the chief patriarch. They began to understand the situation after listening to Goff's words. It seems that revealing one's name to the chief patriarch is the green-skinned greatest honor of honors. It's more of a nightmare than a dream as everyone began nodding. A true, honorable warrior. Even if it were me, I wouldn't have revealed it. A name without honor is useless no matter what. Garik. Blood Dagger. I will remember. Goff raised my image unexpectedly. I have no choice but to love him. The chief patriarch who had listened to Goff also looked at me as he opened his mouth. I'll look forward to the day when I can hear your real name. Blood Dagger Clan's chief Blood Dagger. Blessed are you, strong warrior. It went so far as allowing me to receive a buff as I could feel some power revolving around me. In the end, I had to shout with my hand over my chest. Strength, wisdom and honor. Very good. I have heard a lot about the brothers who came in this time. You are more wise and honorable than I have heard from the chief of Storm Shadow Clan. When the name of the Storm Shadow Clan emerged, one with a large fong bowed his head. His race was that of a troll. Perhaps that was the person that led us in the exam. Anyhow, the chief patriarch continued as he opened his mouth. I have called you to this place to introduce you to some of the tribes that protect this land of glory, and also to help you to survive in this land. My brothers. I am grateful for the offer, but Goff clan does not need help to survive in this place. Chief Patriarch. We are not trying to push aside your honor. Honorable warrior Goff. From the chief patriarch's words, Goff was slightly roused. But, the chief patriarch had an expression that he understood. It seems that he had experienced facing a lot of warlike warriors like Goff. I was able to roughly understand what the chief patriarch was saying. In this continent, amongst the humans, there were a few that were extremely strong. If the previous Saint Sword or the previous Queen of the North clashed against our entire clan, we would be totally annihilated. So far as not even being able to inflict a wound before being defeated. It is highly likely that the words of the chief patriarch meant to suppress these kinds of the headstrong mentality as much as possible. It seems my expectations were right. the chief patriarch opened his mouth and asked me. Warrior, blood dagger who has lost one's honor. Who was the one that had a sacred battle against you? A sudden question out of nowhere. But, I could understand his point in doing so. It is a female warrior of the humans. The chief patriarch nodded his head and did not laugh like the chiefs of our tribe. Rather, it seems that everyone had expressions of agreement. In this world, the humans are truly strong. Honorable warrior Goff. No matter how brave you are, there is a boundary. This chief patriarch Agar wants you to survive to the end and engrave true honor onto this land. It is not a rule intended to suppress your freedom. My brothers. You can head anywhere you like on this land and place your flag. However, we are one tribe. When great power is needed, we will fight together, and die together. Chief Patriarch Agar. He is quite an impressive display. And much more than I had imagined. I don't know exactly how long it's been since Agar had come into this world, but if it were not for the great patriarch, the green skins might have been unable to survive in this land. The majority of the green skins were warlike. They wanted to battle instinctively, and desired to be in the battlefield. If it were not for the chief patriarch, the green skins would have had short lives as they would attack human settlements the moment they were summoned. I was finally able to roughly understand the purpose of the previous exam now. The strength to survive. The wisdom to wage war. The knowledge of patience. If it were the previous warlike Goff, he could have rejected the words of the chief patriarch. But, after learning patience in the desert and wilderness, the current Goff was much more different now than before in my opinion. As expected, I was able to see with my eyes as Goff raised his fang to open his mouth. Understanding, but not wanting to understand. But, the eyes of his empathize with the words of the chief patriarch. I will follow the will of the chief patriarch. With Goff nodding his head, the others also began to nod. We will follow the will of the chief patriarch. Thank you. My brothers who know honor. At this time, I was curious of something, so I asked the chief patriarch. What do you mean to be free to go wherever we so desire? Chief patriarch. It literally means what you've asked. Blood dagger. You are free to go wherever you want to go in this vast continent. The land of glory is where the green skins gather. However, the green skins are spread throughout the continent. For instance. Yes. The White Silver Fang clan's chief, Silver Fang over in this spot is settled to the north of the continent. From Chief Patriarch's words, the white werewolf sitting still followed up with a reply. The harshness of winter. The Chief Patriarch satisfactorily nodded his head and resumed. In the case of the Minotaurus chieftain clan, they are centered in the middle of large prairies. I receive the will of the great prairies. One snotty Minotaurus replied to the words of the Chief Patriarch. The Storm Shadow clan's trolls are to the eastern swamp. Victory and honor will never subside. I was able to get a rough sense of where the green skins lived in this continent. Numerous green skins rooted in the continent were living independently in their own places in their own way. Like a large spider web. Though it's obvious, the center of the web is this land of glory protected by the chief patriarch Agar. I do not know where you want to put the flag of your clans yet, but you can choose. 3 years. After exactly 3 years, you will be able to put up your new flags. To summarize, it was like this. We are able to select which territory we want to live in. However, it is only an independence by name. The other chiefs sitting around the chief patriarch are protected. If you choose to be independent after 3 years, go to an unclaimed spot and put up your flag there. Of course, we are literally living together with another tribe. All green skins will be equal. We will not touch each other's clan, and they will not mind as long as you do not harm their clan no matter what you do. But we will fight together. If a war emerges, then we will rise together with our back side by side and fight. Not bad. I had wanted to make this kind of request in the start. A reliable shield has appeared for 3 years. It's a great opportunity to learn how the monsters here live and survive. The problem was where to go. I naturally began looking around. Certainly there are those who are holding the place where I used to live. Of course I know of them. Green Goblin Clan, a clan primarily consisting of green goblins. They are fast and enjoy attacking beginner adventurers. The symbol of their flag is drawn sloppily of a green goblin's face. They are extremely cruel and famous for their ferocity, so much so that famed adventurers would avoid this group. But, I am not a human now. I started to turn to see if he was here, and soon afterwards I could see a goblin with a playful face in sight. He's here. While I was having various thoughts, the chief patriarch continued to introduce the other guys. I had to consider the possibility of moving to another side, so I began to focus on listening to the other guys. Soon, all the introductions came to an end, and the selection phase neared. Fortunately, the chief patriarch concluded the day, so we are able to scatter from the patriarch's tent pavilion and return to our tents. TL afterward LOL Goff actually increased the MC's image as more honorable, even though it wasn't MC's intention. What a true friend. PS wait, so all this time, MC still haven't come up with a name. Guess Despicable Captain or Blood Dagger works fine for now. Note. Anyways, to summarize it myself, the Blood Dagger clan is able to choose to go to another territory inhabited by another clan. They are not free to go to an uninhabited place to set up their independence until 3 years have passed. So, the two clans literally have to live together as brothers for 3 years. Notice. In response to my reader's curiosity, I was extremely busy with some assignments due to my courses, so I wasn't able to be as active lately. 5. Week courses are hell. Thank you for asking. As apologies, and also as thanks to all those that continue to support and donate despite that week-long hiatus, I'll be releasing 4 more regular chapters plus a sponsor today. Also, I'll translate and upload some bonus chapters over the weekend if I have the time. Thank you for your support and patience. 5/5. All done PR afterward wise indeed. Translator. Calvi's proofreader. Psi 101. Chapter 25. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Where will you go, Blood Dagger? I'm not sure. I will need to consult with my clan members for a bit. It seems that you've already decided. To be honest, I am still deciding. Blood Dagger. It would be best if our decisions coincide, but if not, then there's no helping it. Frankly, Goff clinging onto me to stay together would have been an enjoyable sight to see, but the situation didn't transpire as such. The probability of Goff going to the Minotaurus of the Great Prairies, or the Ogres of the Jungle is high. The large frames of the two clans suit well with Goff's clan extremely well. Personally, I would recommend the Minotaurs that are known to be milder than the fierce ogres. I thought that Goff would become much more stronger by reducing his warlike personality a bit. From his personality, the chances of him selecting the ogre side was high, but intervening in this situation would be inappropriate of me. Seeing that the conversation between us looked enjoyable, he furtively approached and opened his mouth. Our Dark Moon clan will head east. East would be. We will depart together with the storm shadows. The swamps in the east. Though I'm not precisely sure of the classes, but somehow, hints of rogues rise from it. The Darkman's shoddiness matches very well with them, I thought, so it was to be expected. Dark Moon looked up at me and with a smile on a very uncomfortable expression, he spoke once again. So, the Storm Shadows would like you to move together with them. I'm talking of you, Blood Dagger. It seems that Dark Moon was shady as well. To be offered this proposition, it was obvious that I wouldn't select this instant. So, I decided to reply to Dark Moon with a suitable line. Tell them I'll think about it. TCH, alright. I began to feel a bit envious of Dark Moon being certain of the path he chose. As for me, I know too much information, so it was rather greatly intervening with choosing a specific place. The first thing to consider was that since I had returned to the past, I know a few named monsters. Of course, there's an extremely fast troll to the east, and there was also a story of a werewolf who killed 2 first-class summons simultaneously in an instant to the north. Even though it's a rumor by story, as someone that is very curious, I know these kinds of information in the back of my head. Of course, the monsters I heard were in clans or chiefs the majority of the time, but there were also some that didn't apply to that. From my memories, at a small city to the east were green skins enslaved by the humans. At around 5 years before my death, I heard that the human city was in complete chaos. Of course the event was induced by the slaves. Of course I don't know the name, but apparently it was a troll shaman who led the rebellion in creating large havoc in the city. Soon after, they were killed by the humans from the east, but the force that they displayed became a significant shock that became well known for quite a long time. There was a different one 8 years ago. There was a orc hunter who did not live in a particular tribal life, but this orc always had on a draped white wolf leather as the orc killed all the humans in sight. He would breathe his last after being pierced by the spear from the Queen of the North. Hopefully, if things go well, I had high hopes of recruiting him into our clan. Due to this, I had no choice but to ponder a bit longer. Anyhow, thanks to this roughly known information, I was able to completely exclude the choices of living with the Minotaurus clan, as well as the ogres. Just because there was no formalized growth tree of these high-ranking species doesn't mean that they were necessarily strong, but naturally, the ogres and Minotaurus were definitely recognized to be one of the stronger monsters in this world. Thanks to them, the humans won't usually invade into the territorial areas they usually live in unless they are strong enough. In order for me to engage in many battles, the thicker the shield, the more harmful it would rather be. Also, their lifestyles didn't match with mine from the start. I'm not sure of the ogres, but the arrogant Minotaurus were definitely not suitable to my tastes. I had no thoughts of becoming a cow. To be honest, the most alluring option was to go west to the Green Goblin clan to find Choi Solji, and kill the Saint Sword including Shin Duck.Ho, that bastard. The problem was that the power of our clan was too weak to settle in the west and do full-scale activities. In the tutorial, we did have some military force, but in the standards of the continent, we were nothing but hatchlings. It's obvious, but even if we combined forces with the Green Goblin clan, we wouldn't even be able to infiltrate into the city of the humans. The Saint Knights who were training the Saint Sword recognized her talent after being summoned at a young age, who would later become the leader and would easily kill us. Probably the Saint Sword's master that was currently ruling over the city, Saint Knight Choi Young-hoon. Until retirement, he was still too strong. I'm curious. I am definitely curious how Choi Solji is living right now. As someone who met Choi Solji 3 years into the continent, I did not know what she did beforehand. From her words, she was a decent thief, but there was no validity from her actions. In my estimation, I thought that she sold her body from a long time ago, but due to her insistence, I wasn't able to confirm that. In fact, the two of us did not think of having a serious relationship as we joked around while raising our affection for one another. Of course, I visited Choi Solji often at first and I was slowly sorting out my life a little bit, so I had thought that we could be together by combining our efforts, but who would have guessed that things would transpire like that? This was definitely possible since Choi Solji was a prostitute who sold her body on the streets, and I was a beggar who was trying my utmost to survive day by day. It was somewhat embarrassing to have confirmed each other's feelings to some extent at the end, but I was also curious how the present Choi Solji was doing. If I was lucky, it would be best if I could bring her over to my side, but I'm nothing but a monster from a standpoint, so it would be a relief for her to not run away after seeing me. Forcefully grabbing Choi Solji and saying, "You and I decided to live together in our previous life," was something I had no confidence of saying to a fear-stricken Choi Solji. I have no choice but to think about it some more. In fact, the most important task at hand other than my personal revenge or infusing new talent into the clan was for me to grow. In order to accomplish my goal, it was necessary, and above all, I had a great desire to be strong. Unlike the previous me who had no hope, seeing my path open a bit, I was starting to enjoy watching myself grow. There were various ways to become strong in this continent, but there are two classifications in general. The first is to directly experience battle and gain experience. The second is to learn. Of course, hunting the undead living here and there in the dungeons and entering the dungeons made by those crazy mages to earn points or find hidden quests would be a way, but I realized that honing my skills and increasing my physical abilities was more important. In the battle against the Queen of the North, I was definitely superior in terms of physical abilities. I needed opponents, seniors, that I could fight and learn various things from. If you think about it again, the North was excluded, and the battle styles of the werewolves were completely different from mine. You could say that the Desert Orc clan that is settled in the southern desert uses a variety of weapons was very suitable, but if you consider the clan, then the Storm Shadows of the east as well as the Green Goblins of the west were not bad choices at all. The reason was that these two clans operated on robbery, assassinations, and theft, uncommon among the green skins. This would aid my subordinates a lot, where many have selected the assassin path. It also wouldn't be bad for me personally since I would learn the way of the dagger. To be honest, my head hurts. In the end, I decided to consult with Mi-Vi and Young-Hae-Yeon. The 5 goblin siblings also decided to participate in their first ever meeting, so with all of us gathered in my tent, we pondered hard on where we should head to. But I will follow whatever the blood dagger wishes. The first sibling, this kind of significant issue needs to be decided by the captain. Fairy Sprite Archer MEV, 2, I don't know. Even Young-Hae-Yeon, once a human, revealed her intention to leave everything to me. Just in case, I asked the other clan members on their opinion, but their reaction was much more of a sight. For Blood Dagger. I will follow Blood Dagger. For Blood Dagger. For Blood Dagger. By asking for opinions without hesitation, it only solidified my position as the leader that much more. Other than the Dark Moon clan, Goth clan, and our Blood Dagger clan, all the other chiefs disbanded their clans and decided to join the others, so it was rather a relief that this kind of response transpired, but this blind following of one person was definitely dangerous. It was because I was not perfect. Thanks to that, I began to be more attracted to the east where the slave shaman is and the orc hunter of the north. It is funny to mention this, but I really needed another honest clan member who would disagree with me. Not only that, we don't even have a shaman in the clan. That honey-like proposition of going together with the storm shadows slowly creeped into my mind as my heart leaned to the swamps of the east. As such, with my eyes open, I stayed up the whole night thinking. I won't be able to deal with you. Young-Hae-Yeon started the day with a very serious look, but this situation was much more urgent. Once it was morning, everyone like yesterday began to convene, and after finishing the introductions of bowing with our hands on our chest, we were able to face Agar. Tell your brothers of your decision. The first one to open his mouth was Goth clan's Goth. Our Goth clan, we will go together with the ogres of the jungle. It seems he chose to release more of his wild nature than suppress it. Personally, it was unfortunate, but it wasn't a bad selection. Probably, it wasn't just Goth, but the selection of all of his clan members. Naturally, I became curious of Goth's appearance 3 years from now. The Goblin Elder's turn was next. Our Dark Moon clan, we will go together with the Trolls of the Swamps. The Goblin Elder was going together with the Storm Shadows he spoke of yesterday. Storm Shadow and Dark Moon greeted each other with their hands on their chests, and soon Chief Patriarch Agar gazed at me as he opened his mouth. How about you, Blood Dagger clan? Looking on at the clan members on the right side of the Great Patriarch, I slowly opened my mouth. Everyone started to pay attention, and soon, had surprised expressions. Our Blood Dagger clan will TL afterward no Goff for 3 years. Preposterous. Larcenous. No difference from murder. I demand justice. PS named monsters. Asterisk drools. I hope MC can recruit some of them into his clan and make them lieutenants or something. Just the thought of it makes me so excited for what will happen later on. And that orc hunter plus slave shaman. I'd love to see them and their personalities. By the way, how dare those humans enslave those cute green skins? Comment. Yeah. I'm a bit baffled by why the author chose to singularize fawn for the green skins. I usually imagine there being two, but the author mentions them as singular, so I'm assuming his imagination of orcs differ from mine. Notice. This chapter along with 2 more this weekend are compensation for the releases that I missed last week. Just think of them as compensation bonuses, hee. As for Sod, I will get back to it soon enough. Oh, and thank you to my proofreader for checking all of these chapters once again. Such a quick editor. PR afterward, every time we choose our past over our present we kill our future. Temitope Ibrahim translator. Calvi's proofreader. Psi 101. Chapter 26. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Everyone was staring at my mouth opening. In that gap, I slowly began to utter words from my mouth. Our Blood Dagger clan will. Our Blood Dagger clan will go together with the Green Goblin clan of the West. Everyone had an amused face. Amongst them was Storm Shadow, who had asked me to come along, opening his mouth as his long fangs stuck out. It was truly an expression of curiosity rather than being displeased. Interesting. Warrior who has lost one's honor. Blood Dagger. May I ask why? There was a reason I had thought of in advance, but there was no way I could speak of it plainly. After briefly staring at Storm Shadow, I was able to come up with a reasonable explanation for him to accept and began to speak. The woman of the humans knows me who have lost one's honor very well. Also, I was able to learn the harshness and cruelty of the environment here thanks to the exam of Chief Patriarch Agar. The weak goblins with their bodies were able to establish their own flag on the continent. I am curious of how they were able to do so. As if convinced, he soon nodded his head, and opened his mouth after a few seconds. I think I know what you want. Warrior who has lost one's honor, Blood Dagger. My words were plausible, but the fact that I had chosen the Green Goblin clan wasn't just for that reason. Of course, it would be true if what I spoke earlier were true, but there were more plausible reasons. The East was the best, and the North was not bad at all. Despite all that, there were reasons why I had chosen to go with the Green Goblins. The first reason was because I know the Western City very well. I have heard about the situations of the North and East, but if I were to actually head over, the probability of me starting from scratch was extremely high. No matter how much I covet the slave shaman and the orc hunter, it's only possible once they actually recognize me as their chief. No one would swear allegiance to a young hatchling like me. Especially in the case of the slave shaman, I didn't have the power to investigate that small city. It would be best to grow a bit stronger beforehand. The second reason was the probability of possibly meeting Choi Solji. If Choi Solji's words were true that she had adventured for 1.2 years after completing the tutorial, there could be the chance of me actually meeting Choi Solji. Everyone already knows that the West is where beginners train and hunt. If I really am able to meet Choi Solji, I'm not sure how I would respond, but I want to see how she's faring. And the last reason was to wipe out the fast-growing rookies in the Western City who had developed quickly for 10 years before. I'll clash against them anyways. One way or the other, I will fight the Saint Sword. I will clash against the Western City AIA managed by the Saint Knights Order anyhow. I already have a trivial desire for vengeance as a green skin and human. I will soon aim for the Saint Sword surrounded by countless strong opponents. I will also target the Western City AIA. I need to reduce the fine summoned as much as possible. A special, unique ability, that allows one to use magic and swords simultaneously. Magic swordsman Kim Dong-hyun. The wind magician who can relentlessly send her opponents flying with her high mana, Lee Ji-yeon, and the high HP Saint Knight, the famed Byuk Wongjun. And the other so-called rankers included with those names. I must kill them all. There was no personal grudge against them. You can consider them elite since they did pass the elite courses. It's not as much as the Queen of the North, but they were the strong I've looked up to 10 years ago. I wanted to see how I am now against them. While I was thinking of useless thoughts, I could hear Chief Patriarch Agar's voice once again. Interesting. How interesting. It was always like this, but these brothers are very interesting. Follow me, my brothers. I have a present for you. Strength, wisdom and honor. I did expect internally whether the Patriarch would give out something. It was strange how I wasn't excited at the thought of receiving something. Soon, a group began to move from the spot again behind the Chief Patriarch. As if seeing this as an opportunity, the Green Goblin clan's chief furtively withdrew his body backwards and slowly opened his mouth. He was wearing a white robe, but what was more of a lasting impression were his teeth. Is there another reason why you selected our clan? Girl. The reason is the same as before. Green Goblin. I thought there was something to learn from. Girik. Good. To teach. To learn. That is precisely a wise green skin. From the mood, it seems that they have never received the selection of the brothers. It seems there were none that chose to leave with them considering the other ogres or werewolves, and the orcs. He smiled as he looked at me with his small fawn. You can look forward to it. Friend. I look forward to it. Brother. After concluding the short conversation, I couldn't help while standing in front of the cave-like place but smile with the sounds from within. Kariwiing. It was the small growl of a beast. The humans definitely tried to tame the different monster races for transportation, but I've heard that they had failed completely. There were rumors that only the monsters had the method to train these beasts, but even after 10 years, seeing that no progress was made, it seems probable that they won't be able to figure it out forever. Soon, Chief Patriarch Agar lighted the interior of the cave, revealing the large wolves gathered inside. Kariak. The wolves stared at us with reddened eyes. I laughed joyfully towards them. Then, a dark red-colored wolf began to slowly walk over towards me, catching my attention. The Chief Patriarch, seeing this, opened his mouth once again. You can take it. Cume. To be honest, I wanted to scream. But, I decided to ask once again to preserve my image. Really? Of course, you are chosen by this child, brother. The child was slightly looking up with its eyes shining, as it lowered its head towards me. As if it wanted me to stroke it, it rubbed its face. Stroking its fine hair with my rugged hands, the sounds of a cat soon emerged from its mouth. Purr. It seems that it was very satisfied. But, I was feeling much more elated than this little guy. I could finally see why the humans could not tame these wolves, and why the wolf riders who fought with wolves were so rare. May I ask for this child's name? You name it. This wolf was just reborn. I nodded my head. It seems that since I had received this gift, I had to name it as well. There was no name that came into mind just yet. I continued to stroke it. Goff was second. Goff was waiting briefly in front of the cave. A large wolf slowly walked outside the cave. Goff smiled, and as if it was pleased, the wolf made a low growl. From Goff's expression, I could see that he was truly thankful to the Chief Patriarch. I felt his elation from here. Lastly, the Dark Moon clan waited, but no matter what he tried, no wolves came out, causing all of us to laugh. In the end, Agar comforted Dark Moon, patting his back. Don't be too disappointed. It is quite difficult to match their tastes. I will give you a different present. It's It's an honor. How could he be happy even if he were to receive another gift? Though I haven't raised a dog prior, but seeing it shake its tail, I think I can understand why others raise dogs. In the perspective of a human, it was definitely fierce and terrifying. I extended my hand once again towards it, and as such, the welcoming event concluded. After the event, which could not be called an event, was completed, as I walked towards the tent of my clan members, soon they started to loudly scream hard for Blood Dagger. Though they chanted that for me, their eyes were all focused on the large wolf that came to our camp. Kuryung. The growling wolf stared at the approaching goblins and hobgoblins as if it was annoyed, but despite that, the clan members were extremely elated as they jumped around the dark red-colored wolf. Captain has received a wolf. Our captain is now a wolf rider. It's a female. It's a female. I couldn't confirm its gender, but it seems it was a female. Seeing their exaggerated expressions, I couldn't help but laugh as I opened my mouth. Prepare to depart. Blood Dagger clan will head west. We're going west. The Blood Dagger clan will go west. I immediately announced that we would head west, and the Green Goblin, worried just in case I might change my mind, immediately accepted my offer. That's why our tents along with the Green Goblin tents were busy. MEV and Young Hye-eon, without me telling them, roughly knew where we were heading, seeing the boisterous Green Goblins. I do not know why, but they were very joyfully nodding their heads as MEV's expression looked as if my decision was rational. No, rather it was an expression of, that's our chief. It was that kind of expression, I think. Get the food. Prepare the water. We will go together with the Green Goblin clan. Blood Dagger clan and Green Goblin clan will go together. The other guys were extremely excited as they were wondering about the new land. When I was finished organizing the preparations along with the 5 goblin siblings, it was then I heard Blood Dagger. I turned my head toward the sound of the voice, and standing in front of me was Goff. With over 100 days of being together with him, the affection that we shared was very high. It seems that he came in search of me to say goodbye, so I placed my baggage on the floor and began to walk slowly towards Goff. Goff. Calling his name, he nodded his head and opened his mouth once again. We have been together for a long time. We fought together, slept together, and acted together. It might not have been a long time. I think of you as an honest brother. I am of the same. Goff. We might not share blood, but I see you as my brother. Afterwards, he tried to say something, but funny enough, the words didn't come out well. I felt like I knew what he wanted to say, so I stared at Goff and opened my mouth. Let's grow stronger and see each other after 3 years. My brother. Let us set our flags in this continent. Hearing my words, Goff nodded his head. Seeing that, it seems that I was right of what he wanted to say. What a complicated guy. All right. Let's see each other 3 years from now, brother. From Goff's words, I extended my hand without realizing it. It seems I still have that habit from when I was a human. Apparently, the greetings of the green skins would have been pounding the chests with one's hand. However, after he briefly leaned his head to one side for a moment, he cautiously extended his hand. Soon, I could feel Goff's heavy strength from his hand. What I felt was Goff's heat. I began to tighten my grip on the hand slowly, displaying what this action means, and at this time I thought that the way of the humans was not bad either, in contrast to the way of the green skins. No more words were needed after that exchange. Goff slowly turned his back and began to return. He will definitely return 3 years later stronger. I will as well. I also need to be strong in order to fight him. I laughed. If someone told me 10 years ago that I would be sharing friendship with an orc, I would have treated that guy as a freak. But now, I am feeling it. I really see him as my brother. Not only that. Ha! I turned my back from Goff and opened my mouth to my other brothers. Let's go. My brothers. 4. For Blood Dagger. As such, our short time in the land of glory ended. TL afterward beast companions. Yes. Well, hopefully the wolf won't be just a mount, and will be an important companion to MC, poor Dark Moon though. All he wanted was a wolf, but was rejected. P.S. God, that parting with Goff was a sadder love story than Twilight. I actually read it so I can confirm. I'm gonna miss this broship so much. And wow, wolf riders. I wonder how cute that wolf is, asterisk drools. Comment. No more cliffhangers notice. Compensation bonus chapter #2PR afterward. Wolf riders are common in the WoW Lord of Rings. http://media.blizzard.com/wow/media/fanart.1165.full.jpg Calvi's Proofreader. Sci 101. Chapter 27. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A human assassin fights in the shadows. As for us Green Goblins. Well. Green Goblin Clan's chief. It seems that he was very close to you. Girick. A brother. Girick. The one who spoke to me was Green Goblin. Right now we were leaving the land of glory with some of the tribesmen of the Green Goblin clan. I did not say my farewells to the chief patriarch, but when I saw that the Green Goblins did not mind, it seemed that there was no need to say goodbye when leaving. He was one that came here with me. If so, that must have been very special. Girick. I was of the same as well. I was slowly moving on top of a giant wolf, who I named Debar. At first, I thought it was appropriate to walk with the clan members, but after MEV approached me and spoke how I needed to show dignity of the chief patriarch, I consented and rode on top of her. Riding her wasn't as difficult as I thought. When she starts running, I thought I would fall off her unsightly, but she was caring for me more than anything else. And the soft, fluffy fur was extremely comfortable. As if I was sitting on a superior sofa. I could somewhat understand why some people would go crazy over expensive cars. The interesting part was that among the 10 or so Green Goblin clan members, the chief was walking with them. It seems that he didn't get selected. With an envious look, he kept taking glances towards me on top of Ibar, so much so that I could feel his eyes continually staring. Would you like to ride her behind me? Ah. No. Girick. It's okay. Girick. He was definitely stuttering. It seems he was shaken. Strangely, as if she understood my words, Ibar let out a "Koryung," expressing her refusal. The Green Goblin who saw this was greatly depressed. I do not know why, but the other clan members also had sad faces. In the end, I had to bend down and ask, "It's okay, right?" Before she began to stoop down. There was no reason why he wouldn't understand for him to come on. In the end, Green Goblin, it's okay. Okay. It's fine. Girick. Green Goblin mumbled as he slowly climbed on top of Ibar's back. Once he climbed up, he was extremely elated. These green skins are simple as expected. Seeing this, the rest of the Green Goblin clan members began screaming. Our chief has been selected by the giant wolf. The first goblin in the Green Goblin clan to overcome this limit is our chief. Our chief is great. Even the other Green Goblins have not been on top of a wolf once. It was to the point where I wondered if giant wolves disliked those that are simple. In an instant, all of them were excited. Our clan members were getting excited in a different way. It's a great unity amongst chiefs. The Green Goblin clan and the Blood Dagger clan. It's a great unity amongst chiefs. I was extremely curious as to how this situation of riding on the wolf could be interpreted like that, but it was really interesting. The Green Goblin, who saw this, was slightly excited and climbed on the wolf with 2 feet. I am that Green Goblin. TCH, seeing him like that, I began to worry whether I could entrust my future to someone like him. At this time, we had left the land of glory, but in the direction of the way back seemed to be a bit different. It seems that the path back is different from when we searched for the land of glory. That land is holy and only the green skins of the warrior exam could enter. Giric. Our clan had also traversed to the land of glory with the aid of a guide. It's already been 8 years. I see. This way back is much more quick and comfortable. Now and then, we will also encounter humans. You don't have to restrain your desire for battle unlike last time. Giric. In the warrior exam, the monsters that appeared every time we changed direction led us on the right path. As Green Goblin mentioned, we were able to find a much more comfortable way back than we did searching for the land of glory. A path surrounded by huge trees. To be precise, it was not well organized to say the least, but certainly these huge trees covered the hot desert, so it was much easier to travel. It seems that the probability of a road connecting the middle of this forest and the desert is high. Thanks to it, the humans use this road quite often, it seems. A disputed area, where green skins and humans will likely fight for, this place was likely one that you would not want to lose. It is the only comfortable way to reach the continent, so it's not unreasonable in wanting to control this path. Since I wasn't good with memorizing roads, I looked at Mivi, who understood my point. She was memorizing the way as an archer. Come to think of it, what do you want to learn from our clan? Everything. Especially on how to wield the dagger. Of course, it's not just me, but all of our clan members. I had to try as many weapons as possible, so I decided to learn the dagger first. There was no particular reason, but since I was heading to the west, and I was familiar with the proficiency of the dagger used by the Green Goblins from my human days, I thought why not? For example, thieves and assassins who weren't skilled. TCH. It would be nice if I could wield the dagger as skilled as Green Goblin. This joke alone portrayed just how highly skilled they were. Anyways, the Green Goblin, hearing my words, briefly pondered before smiling and replied. You are an unusual green skin. Blood dagger, warrior without honor. Others assert that there is nothing to learn from us. This is the first I've been directly asked for my teachings. Giric. You do not evolve, but you still protect your honor in the body of goblins with your flag set high. You have the right to receive applause. Giric. Originally, our Green Goblin clan asked for sparkling objects as payment when tasked by our brothers for a request. It seems it wasn't free. I even gave him a ride on a wolf, but seeing him like that, I couldn't help but feel that he was a bit shameful. Even when I was in the city, I have heard how goblins lose one's mind from sparkling objects. So much so that it was advised not to carry any sparkling possessions as much as possible before leaving on an adventure. I thought it was just a joke, but seeing this now, they really are greedy. I don't have anything at the moment, but I can retrieve what you want. Green Goblin. Giric. Very good. Good. Giric. He was able to ride on top of a wolf. He was also promised sparkling items. The Green Goblin, who was extremely elated, started laughing, causing the other clan members to laugh as well. Sparkling gold coins and jewels. When I was a human, those were very precious, but for monsters, they were nothing but useless objects. I'm not sure why they're so obsessed with those, but it wasn't even difficult for us to give away the by-products of the hunt. As such, we traveled like this for a while. Slowly, the Green Goblin began to climb down the wolf. Staring at the Green Goblin with a questionable expression, the Green Goblin with a playful look opened his mouth. It seems that I can get rid of Blood Dagger's curiosity faster than I thought. Giric. The other Green Goblins in the surrounding began to look around with happy expressions. Humans. There are humans. There are humans up front. If we walk a bit further, you'll see. I didn't notice. Of course our tribe members also had dazed faces. We're not ignoring the bravery of the Blood Dagger clan, but leave this fight to us this time. We want to show you all something. Girick. Girick, I decided to answer with a nod. I had expected that the humans acting in this path would be strong to a certain extent, but I could not imagine how they did not notice us yet. Especially in this welcoming setting. If we were to be rushed first, probably over half of us will die. But to be able to notice that, the Green Goblin clan started to look even more impressive. To be honest, among the green skins, other than ones that just entered, the chiefs that have been in the continent for a long time could be rightly considered to be the strongest in the continent. When you evaluate the strengths of these guys roughly from personal insights and rumors. Assuming that both the Saint Sword and the Queen of the North both equal in status are S rank 10 years later, the many chiefs of the green skin would be between S rank and A rank. Of course, in the case of Chief Patriarch Agar who is considered to be out of specification, SS rank. During my human days, as someone that thought of myself as E rank, it was a height that was truly too high to reach. Perhaps the Green Goblin in front of me may be playful and greedy, but he is one of the strongest. I gestured to the tribal members of the Blood Dagger clan for a moment with my hand. They probably heard Green Goblin's voice as well. To not intervene in this battle. Everyone nodded in comprehension. But, it seems that they wanted to fight. It was the first time to be able to view a fight by the strong since I watched the Saint Sword. Well, I've only seen the Saint Sword in an unofficial fight at a competition without voting, but I've never seen her properly clash in a battle of life and death. Let's go. My green brothers. The Green Goblin clan began to move quickly. Of course, it seems that they were taking care of us as they continued to smile looking back as they ran. If it were just the Green Goblins, then the humans might not have noticed, but the Blood Dagger clan was charging as well. To advertise like this while running, I thought that it wouldn't be long before they notice us. As expected, I started to hear the human voices. Monsters. Prepare for battle. Our luck is good. They're goblins. Just roughly face them. Stupid bastards. Certainly the goblins of the south are weaker than the west. Nonetheless, it is inexcusable to be careless to such an extent. That kind of reaction should only appear if you're truly confident. Or if your opponents are weaker than you. Among them, a level-headed person began to shout with a loud voice. Don't be careless and prepare for battle. With one sentence from that person that looked to be the leader, the mood of the party changed. I could hear sounds of chanting here and there. They were planning on responding with magic. The warriors also began to raise their shields to clash against the goblins. When I was curious of how these small goblins would be able to penetrate those shields and attain victory, it was then. The chief suddenly began to throw gold coins from his pocket. Girick. Girick. Sparkling, sparkling, sparkling. Curious of what nonsense they were acting, the moment I looked at the Green Goblin, the goblins began to accelerate into a flash. We realized that they weren't running slowly in wait of us. But they were trying to induce as much carelessness as possible from their opponents with their loose appearances. The speed of the goblins that began to change hardened the expressions of the humans. Of course, their facial expressions couldn't help but change. The speed of the goblins rushing towards them were extremely fast. And then, the moment a human magician was about to complete his spell, the light gleamed from the gold coins that were thrown. Fuck. I didn't hear an explosion. Rather. Beep, the sounds kept ringing in my ear, completely blinding me. The light was so bright that it was painful to keep them open. Flash. Bang. I thought that it was probably a unique ability. A unique ability that changes sparkling objects to flash. Bangs. It was a unique ability completely different from that cheap HP increase. I can finally understand why human adventurers found goblins of the Green Goblin clan to be nightmarish. I realized why I had never seen the Green Goblin clan's chief in the Western City AIA. They fight in the light. Nearly all of these clan members that have changed into assassins fought in the flashbang thrown by the Green Goblin. Once the sound stopped, I could hear the screams of the humans. Hack. Hack. WH. Where? Save me. Priest. Soon, when my vision began to slowly recover, I opened my eyes. The battle was already over. Fuck. These fucking bastards. It was a given that I began to swear at the person that summoned us here in this very unfair place. How strong. Even the chief did not move after the first flash flare. Green Goblin wasn't even interested in the battle that already ended as he began to search the humans' pockets. Chief. I found it. A gold coin. Sparkling, sparkling. It's sparkling. It wasn't just me. The rest of the Blood Dagger clan members gazed upon this dumbfounded scene in a daze. In the center, the Green Goblin chief looked at me and showed his teeth. There were still gold coins that were dancing in his hands. So how was it, Blood Dagger? Has your curiosity been resolved yet? Girick. Girick. A bit. This was exactly what a named monster was. To be honest, I was lost for words for a moment. Not exaggerating, but I was truly embarrassed. I couldn't even see the fight, so my pride was a bit hurt. I didn't even properly see how the humans had died. Blood Dagger, you must have heard as well. The God of Battlefield's voice. I did. It seems that the God of Battlefield calls this special ability, unique ability. Girick Girick. I definitely knew. Since I had one as well. Though it was a ridiculously useless ability. I see. I think I saw it from the item shop if I recall. Then, this conversation won't be long. Blood Dagger, I learnt this ability exactly 3 years after coming over into this continent. It will be the same for you. Let's concentrate on awakening your unique ability together for these next 3 years. Girick Girick. It doesn't matter what kind of ability it is. I look forward to it. Of course, unique abilities are important, but it wasn't just that. What I just realized when I saw the Green Goblin clan in the battle just before, they seemed to be a perfect clan. Of course, my own upbringing is also important. However, the direction of how our clan will grow in the future was definitely important. In the case of White Silver Fang, all of them have fast maneuverability, so they will be very specialized for guerrilla tactics. The Minotaurs of the prairies will fight and charge recklessly with their immense strength. As for the ogres in the jungle, they will awaken their wild nature as much as possible and slaughter their opponents. If you think about it, Goff's clan was the same. The majority of their warriors have large frames. They enjoy fighting in the front. Even the shamans that are in Dark Moon clan have their own characteristics. Our clan compared to them have a high ratio of assassins, so I can't say that we don't have any distinctive features, but despite that, we were sorely lacking. I have a lot of homework. I literally meant it. I really had a lot of homework. In the end, as we marched towards the west, I didn't say much, and the Green Goblin clan's chief Green Goblin watched me as if he understood. Of course I did not know how long he had lived here, but he too had experienced the growth process. Around the time that we arrived at the tribe of the Green Goblin clan, I had determined that it was a good choice that I had selected their clan. 2.3 years, no matter what method I use, I will become stronger with power. TL afterward, holy shit. That unique ability is basically a cheat skill. Blinding everyone around you. Blindness and deafness all in one. Even the Queen of the North can't compete with Green Goblin at this moment. And here I thought that Green Goblin would be soon subjected to MCSMH. PSOMG. Ranking system. And how strong is Agar to be SS rank? Like seriously. I thought he was just an old man. NE rank. LOL. Notice. Last compensation bonus chapter. Back to my assignments. PR afterward appearances are deceptive, Green Goblins kick butt. Translator. Calvi's proofreader. Sci 101. Chapter 28. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The encampment of Green Goblin clan was as I thought. The flag standards of the Green Goblins were all over the place. There were so many glittering objects that were coins and jewels embedded around the tents of various colors here and there. They just collect them, but it seems that they don't organize them in any decorative manner. There's no mistake that people who discover this Green Goblin clan's encampment would think that they have hit the lottery. Of course, that would be true if you could win against this clan first. Anyhow, when the summoned were massacred due to the Green Goblin clan in my days as a human, there were rumors that the Saint Sword and high-level summoned were dispatched. Now seeing that the encampment located deep within the outskirts of the western forest, I thought that most likely what occurred was they weren't able to find it in the end. I do not know exactly, but I was able to feel the traces of magic from high-level shamans. Warrior without honor, Blood Dagger. We welcome you that have come to the land of the Green Goblins. There were countless goblins that had already lined up before we had arrived. Rather than welcoming us like the instants in the land of glory, I could feel that they were more curious of our strength. Finally another clan has entered our Green Goblin clan territory. A brother clan lives within our tribe. It really was the case that no clan had selected the Green Goblin clan once in the last 8 years. It seemed to me that one of the things that were quite heart-breaking to the clan was not being chosen by the giant wolves. To be able to resolve 2 of their wishes, in a slightly different sense, we were their saviors. Thanks to that, a lot of their attention was focused on me. Girik. That awesome orc riding that wolf over there is our brother clan's chief. So handsome. I want to mate with him. Girik. Hearing these kinds of comments were beginning to be greatly disturbing. My face seemed to be quite handsome among the green skins. Thanks to the exclamations of the other female goblins, Fairy Sprite Archer MEV moved closer towards me in a vain attempt to ward and caution off future rivals. An ugly girl is beside him. Once called the greatest beauty among the goblins MEV. But now, she was one that was only loved by those with fetishes. Listening to those voices, I was somewhat saddened, but I thought that there was no need to express this as I advanced into the encampment together with the other chief. Like the green skins in the land of glory, they have also heard the news beforehand. It seems as there were tents prepared for us. Of course, I thought I had no time for breaks in the next 2 or 3 years, so I immediately started walking towards the Green Goblin's tent. After receiving permission if I could enter the chief's tent, I was able to see an extremely large tent once I entered. So much so that my mouth opened in shock. There were countless piles of gold coins. The Green Goblin was even lying down comfortably on a pile of gold coins. It was certain why my jaw had dropped open, seeing all of the gold coins that he continuously had hoarded over time. I then regathered myself and spoke towards him perched comfortably amongst those gold coins. I began to relate all the things I thought of after seeing the first battle the Green Goblin clan had displayed. Green Goblin. What is it, Blood Dagger? It has been a long journey, so you must be tired. It would be best if you were to rest well. It isn't much. It's just that I wanted to discuss with you of my plans going forward, hence why I have searched for you. Soon, after beginning to talk of my plan, the Green Goblin's expression began to change with great interest. Are you asking us to entrust our elite goblins to you? Girik. That is so. It would be better if they are ones whom received the divine protection of the god of battlefield. Funny enough, but the method I chose was tutoring, and that of complete tutoring. For every 3 Blood Dagger clan members, 1 elite green goblin will be in charge. If it's a goblin with a unique ability, then the chances of the goblins awakening their unique abilities were higher, which was even more advantageous. The training period were 3 days every week. The first month had no rest days. The rest of the time was decided to be focused on increasing our specs by personal training or hunting. As long as you provide sparkling objects properly, there will be no problem. But, Green Goblin, it may take a while before you can attain what you want. Are you fine with that? It doesn't matter. Blood Dagger. There will be no case where you will fail to keep this promise, one who considers honor so importantly that can forsake his own name. I really don't care about honor that much, but for them to think of me like this was pleasing. Anyhow, I have heard about your clan members as well. Girick. Girick. But, what will you do? I wish to entrust myself to you. Girick. 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 He definitely knew that I was going to say this. It seems that he just wanted to hear this directly. He was extremely elated. The reality that another chief would request of him to teach was a very joyful event. I thought that if it weren't for us, this was an event that will never recur again in the Green Goblin clan. That is fine. Girick. 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 Is there anything else you're curious of? There is. The fact that you can make glittering objects shine. I am curious how you were able to attain such an ability. To be honest, what I was most interested in was how I could awaken a unique ability of that level compared to the cheap, trash-like HP increase ability. The value of race and special classes were definitely important. But, unique abilities were critical as well. Class, race, and ability, these 3 must be completely efficient and harmonious. Even in the case of increased vitality, it was definitely unique ability that was not clearly effective for humans. However, if you consider the Minotaurs and their race characteristics, possessing this unique ability would be a nightmare in its own way. It was the same for the Green Goblin before me. A dexterous goblin, the ability to create flashbangs out of sparkling objects, I can't confirm for sure, but he was probably a class of either a thief or assassin. The balance between the 2 was perfect. The Green Goblin nodded to my questions and resumed. Well. It would be right to say that you will naturally awaken it. I think. Girick. It was probably when my pile of sparkling objects began to increase abundantly. As expected. I had also searched for answers on knowing how to obtain a useful unique ability during my human days. Some awakened theirs from their desire, and others blossomed theirs from their repetitive actions. He definitely has a point. It seems that he had desired to make sparkling objects even more shining. Those repetitive actions of continuing to gather gold coins. The god of battlefield had certainly rewarded this guy what he wanted. During the time when I wanted to escape death, this HP increase was probably reflected from my desire to live. It does not respond to ambiguous or intentional repetitive actions. I began to wander around purposelessly here and there after leaving the Green Goblin's tent. I wanted to think of what I really desired. A big greatsword too large to be called a sword on my back. The blood-soaked dagger sheathed to my hip. And that cheap long sword also on my back as well to serve as a substitution. I have gotten stronger anyhow. It was just a moment, but it was enough to share a few blows against the Queen of the North, and due to the tutorial, my body became that much stronger. Currently, I can feel the strength and magical powers circulating in my body even more. Behind the campgrounds, I aimlessly swung my sword. Why-ying. That sound accompanied the heavy, dense greatsword cutting through the wind. This sword was much more lighter than when I had first held it. What I really want. It was definitely the desire to be strong. Slowly, the images of that fight emerged. Queen of the North. If it's now, can I possibly win? Suddenly, the combination of switching between a big sword, a long sword, and a dagger divide the air. The thrusts of the Queen of the North were truly like flashes of light. She already knew that I was aiming for her critical points, and what my future actions would be. It felt as if she had anticipated the whole situation as it unfolded. The 6 steps at that time. There's no meaning now. The great sword's reach was long enough to deflect the range of her spear, and so I closed the distance and pressured her with my dagger. But despite that, the Queen of the North wouldn't fall. Fuck. Despite it being all an imagination in my mind, she still wouldn't fall. She was definitely growing as well. Anxiety came to me as I continued to swing the sword. As if I was in the state of shadow boxing. I let go of my hands as soon as I swung down my great sword widely from above. That recent attack would definitely be blocked. But, I immediately drew out my other long sword from my back and struck her left waist. This was blocked as well. After that, dagger, and great sword again, and long sword again, the strikes of a sword could be heard echoing throughout the forest. Stronger. I will definitely be stronger. I will fight to win, and will not meet death like my previous life. It wasn't just the Queen of the North that I wanted to fight. The fighting spirit directed at me by Goff, and even Green Goblin, Storm Shadow, and later on, even Chief Patriarch Agar. As such, time flowed and morning arrived. It was morning, and another day was about to begin. The Blood Dagger clan was already beginning to learn how to use the dagger skills with the elite goblins of the Green Goblin clan, as previously mentioned with Green Goblin. Thanks to this, I could sense that the tribe was becoming a bit more cheerful. Frankly, the tribe was lively. Our clan members were screaming in a way different from the humans and their education. They were screaming, but they didn't say much else. They knew as well. Currently, we were among the lowest of the food chain, and that we had to learn to become stronger. The training sessions were frankly not suitable to labeled by the word training. They just fought and kept on fighting. They just fought under the Chief Patriarch's flag. Archers and magicians like Maven and John.Yun were still trying to learn to some extent from the shamans and archers of the Green Goblin clan, but for those who chose the assassin's path have no choice. They fought, and absorbed skills and techniques in learning. That's all. Even the archers and Young Heian participated in the fights after their lectures. I was also facing Green Goblin likewise. Giric. How long it's been since our tribe has been this lively, I'm not so sure myself. All of your clan subordinates are truly impressive warriors. I am grateful for your thoughts. There were no need for words. Just what was the possibility of being taught by the Queen of the North or Saint Sword in my human days? To be able to be tutored by this Green Goblin was in short, a lifetime opportunity. I slowly armed myself as I stared at the guy. Then please take care of me. Giric. 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 Of course. The guy who was looking towards me was playfully spinning his dagger in the air. He was definitely not even 1/3 of my height, but the pressure was immense. He nodded, and sprinted towards me, as if it was like lightning. Left, right, back to the left, up. Then, his figure disappeared from my sight. In that instant, I felt myself being slammed into the ground. I had no clue where the attack came from at all. What was certain was that I felt a hard blow to my legs. Slightly looking up, I saw Green Goblin smiling as he tapped his dagger on my neck. Fuck. This monstrous bastard, you are quite an impressive warrior. I can't help but think that you were stronger than me when you first entered this place. I have heard a lot about you from my brothers, but you are truly talented. Giric. Giric. I have lost miserably. I am not sure what is so impressive. Usually, the brothers that recently enter this continent can't even see me. Even a few of the chiefs. You might not be so sure, Blood Dagger, but your eyes were definitely following my movements. If he was a human, I would have thought that he was just comforting me, but his expression showed that he wasn't lying. But, even so, I couldn't help but be mad at myself. With my burning eyes, I stared at him and spoke once more. Please take care of me once more. TL afterward. God, that green goblin is just overpowered. MC lost in an instant. I wonder just how strong Saint Sword and Queen of the North are in their future 10-year selves. PSMC really wants to fight Queen of the North. Shadowing boxing with swords. I'd love to see that. Also, I wonder what unique ability MC receives as well. Comment. Well, the time skip won't be as abrupt as the one in One Piece for sure, haha. Notice. First regular chapter of the new week. PR afterward puts on headphones, gym gear safely hidden, keyboard warrior stretches for fingers, plays Goblin Clan training camp music. https://www.youtube.com/watch.v equals Ju9P6WDL7A translator. Calvi's proofreader. Psi 101. Chapter 29. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Giric. Then this time, I will lower my speed a bit. Those words were welcoming music to hear. To be honest, there would be no reason to invite him as my tutor, if all I did was continually end up slammed or smashed into the ground. But, the fight this time was the still same. I could only follow him with my eyes, but there was nearly nothing else I could do. What was comforting was at least, I was able to swing my dagger and longsword. I was not able to use the great sword, as its long reach accompanied many openings. But, Green Goblin's skill was truly overwhelming. I couldn't help but admit, that the high proficiency use of the dagger for the Green Goblin clan weren't just nonsense. Aside from the differences in physical specs, I could definitely feel the difference in battle proficiency. To be honest, it was to a state of embarrassment, as I was one-sidedly beaten, but despite that, I could feel that the sparring were of immense help. The other clan members were also of vexing moods, but it didn't look as bad. The next day was the same. The next day after was also the same. The third day. After a week passed, it was still the same. All of the Blood Dagger clan members ended up rolling on the dirt ground in some form or shape. But, despite that, there was no one ridiculing us. As time passed, the eyes of the elite partner trainers showed strong admiration more so than us, and now did not face us with playful expressions. They began to treat us as genuine warriors, despite our dreadfully weak selves. At this time, swinging the sword at night wasn't just a personal routine anymore, but for everyone in the Blood Dagger clan. MEV and Young Haeyeon, who thought I was mating with the beauties of the other tribe, came looking for me, but instead found an orc swinging his sword. As such, 1 month passed. It was only possible, since he had lowered his speed in my consideration. It was certainly a coincidence, but I was able to receive the Green Goblin Chief's dagger. Clang! The sound of the dagger that I was holding and the knob of the dagger that the Green Goblin wielded rang. His face stared at me in that moment. It definitely held a surprised expression, but I was more alarmed than he was. So much so that my mouth and eyes widened. Koreak. It was only a single step forward, but it felt good. Giric. Impressive. I quickly replied to that face of much playfulness which had slightly hardened. It was a coincidence. No, it was because of your care that I was. Even so, there's no denying that you blocked my attack. Blood Dagger. I am definitely not neglecting you, but if the other chiefs were to see this scene, they would ridicule me. As someone who has been in this continent for 8 years, to have my attack blocked by a chief that hasn't even surpassed a year. It seems that I have been lazy. In the meantime, I have realized a lot from watching your young clan. Giric. Giric. You are incredible. You aren't strong yet, but you are brave and diligent, not knowing what giving up is. It has taken an extremely long time to finally meet a green skin like you. Even if those are empty words, I am grateful. Brave Green Goblin. As such, 3 more days had passed. Afterwards, we began to head out to a dungeon. In fact, the dungeon was more closer to just monsters living in a cave, than a dungeon protected by a dungeon master like a lich, but the efficiency was extremely good. It was due to the monsters there being born very quickly. Of course, since the Green Goblin clan were carrying out the mission of protecting our clan, so there were also a lot of elite Green Goblins that accompanied us. But, when we fought, unless really strong opponents appeared, they did not intervene in our battles. On the contrary, it was certainty, that they would not care too much if we were to die. To any of those that weren't of the strong variety. Since it was their way of protecting our honor. The Spider Graveyard, known as a popular place among humans, for gaining experience and to test change classes against spiders similar to the size of my Wolfabar, this is mainly due to their limited attack patterns. My objective was obvious. Human hunting. And maybe I could discover Choi Solji along the way. My desire for battle was satisfied, but my desire in seeing blood couldn't be fully fulfilled. It may not seem appropriate using this expression, but we were going to do PK, player.killing. Of course, it didn't mean that we would be backstabbing them. Investigating the humans that were heading to the dungeon. Kill them all. The location of the cave wasn't too far away from the western forest, as I knew this place well, for I had visited it numerous times in the past. Of course, despite the fact that I came in and out of this cave numerous times, for a long time there were no signs of growth. Though I did enter the cave half giving up, but it didn't mean that my memories of it had disappeared. Did you find any traces? Yes. They're all humans. I am not sure. But Captain, how do you know of such a place? I had thoroughly investigated it. Soon, traces of humans began to be discovered nearby. For them to be so careless with their presence, this party is probably a beginner group. It hasn't been long since they entered this place. MEV had asked this question, while we were furtively advancing a bit further into the forest. By roughly answering this, the clan members began to look at me with admiration. At this time, I felt curious what Young Hye-yeon was thinking of, but it was fine. It was because Young Hye-yeon, including all the others, were filled with malice. It wasn't unreasonable for them to make those kinds of faces. It wasn't just me feeling that I had gotten stronger. They were of the same. They wanted to test just how much stronger they have become, after sparring against the elites of the Green Goblin clan without rest. Especially Young Hye-yeon, who was now completely numb to the killing of humans. So it wasn't irrational for her to make that expression as well. I was somewhat taken aback at how she just wanted blood, honestly, compared to the other clan members that just wanted to see blood fly, but as long as she showed her effectivity in battle, it wouldn't matter. With her numb to the heat of battle, she was growing stronger. We started to advance slowly. The Spider Graveyard was a large cave, wide enough to be called a dungeon. There was definitely a checkpoint that existed for resting, and a checkpoint reserved for making parties as well. Usually, the place where they gathered was at the dungeon entrance. While slowly approaching, I could start to see people quitting their parties or be expelled. Parties that were nearly done preparing to enter the dungeon. If not that, there were others selling potions. Swaying light illuminated the faces of the humans. The fact that they had spare time to enjoy a bonfire was quite funny and ridiculous. I hid myself from afar and began to gradually confirm the faces. There were no named, or Choi Solji among them. The Spider Graveyard was most active in the night, so these guys definitely did not want to lose out on this opportunity. I couldn't rule out the probability that there may be some people that had already entered. I focused my magic into my ears to enhance hearing their voices. We have a useful warrior. I'm a priest. You can take me for 50% of the loot. Selling points. Selling potions. Their numbers roughly had a bit more than us. But I had no sense of feeling that we would lose at all. If we were to wait longer, the alarm magic set by the magicians and archers might activate. I slowly headed towards them as if I was a human. I walked out. I didn't shout a phrase. I simply let out a "Karuk" as I walked towards the entrance with my reddened eyes. It would be strange for them to see an orc with a long sword hung on his back while holding a large greatsword accompanied by a dagger on his waist. As for the armor, only one shoulder was covered from when I had changed classes into a gladiator. I had the appearance similar to a cheap weapon merchant rather than a warrior. As expected, the surroundings soon became rowdy. I could hear their chatter clearly. "It's an orc. How come?" Their confused voices mingled into the background. But, what they were most likely thinking would probably be, "It's only one monster. It's not dangerous at all." I definitely knew. If I were in their place, I would be thinking the same as well. With their numbers, there was no danger in attaining victory. The only dangerous monsters in this western forest would happen to be the goblins of the Green Goblin clan. Our luck is good. Secretly, a few began to approach me. But, the Blood Dagger clansmen hidden in the dark from afar did not react. In the end, two overconfident warriors began to rush towards me. Not bad. But, they couldn't compare to me. In an instant, I swung out my greatsword. As if my mana was burning within, I could feel my whole body become stronger. With the slicing of the wind, his body was cut in half. Chwak! Those sounds assailed my ear. The sound of human flesh and bones torn apart in an instant. This feeling was different from my first victim from this great sword. At that time, I definitely wasn't able to cut the beast in half. But now, I was able to feel it clearly, when I saw the body of a human falling in two pieces without screaming, while their upper body and lower body separated. I have become strong. The second guy was the same. To be honest, I had swung in order to cut both of them at once, but as if he had foreboded a bad feeling, he jumped into the air to barely save his life. Leaping towards the guy that had lost his balance, I swung my sword vertically, cutting him exactly in half. That instant burst of blood and pieces of brains covering my body was refreshing. Naturally, a loud roar sprung out of me. Kari-eek. Kwa. The faces of the humans began to change. The first surprised faces which later ridiculed this solitary monster were now shocked. With those shocked expressions, voices continued to shout out. "Nah. Named monster." I'm not sure who it was, but it was a grateful remark. As the chief of a clan, if I wasn't someone of that level, then it would be shameful to my clansmen. "Sir. Surround it. Named monster. Fuck. SP. Spells. Quickly inform those inside." Foo. Fuck, I've never heard of such a monster. It was an impressive reaction, for them not to run away in all directions. If they had done so, it would have been very bothersome. Since it would lead to new reinforcements dispatched from the city. Their formation was completed in a moment, and the guys charged towards my side. I looked on at them in laughter as I raised my fangs. "Let's go." A small voice out in the darkness. But, there was no mistaking that they heard it. As expected, here and there, voices began to shout and holler out. The humans couldn't understand, but it was the language that we understood, the language of the green skins. The language of the green skins that regarded victory and honor as significant. Then, the phrase that our clan members always shouted soon rained down onto my ears like music. Victory. For victory only. Victory. For victory only. For Blood Dagger. Thus commenced a long night. TL afterward. Holy shit. Is that you guts? Chapter 30. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The very first sounds that flew past my ears were arrows fired by MEV and the green skin archers. The arrows that flew instantaneously punctured the bodies of the humans like pin cushions. The arrow, that pierced a shield lacking magical runes and punched through the human's body, was clearly from MEV. After completing the change of classes to a fairy sprite archer, the capacity of magic in her arrows increased, so every arrow she fired, a sacrifice would appear. Foo. Fuck, I never heard of such a monster clan. Fuck. Magician. Magician. He was impatiently searching for the magicians, but they were already busy trying to block the arrows fired at them. I happened to smile at the words of the warrior. That they have not heard of such a monster clan. A flashy debut. For Blood Dagger. For Blood Dagger. The flag bearer that was running with a flag raised high on his back, was the first of the most loyal 5 siblings. His frame was extremely large for a simple flag bearer though. With the body of an orc, he sliced his sword into the necks of his opponents. Using 2 short swords, he was uncommonly using the reverse dot grip. It was probably from my sacred battle against the Queen of the North that had influenced him. It seems his ambition was to be an assassin. That would be a huge detriment to the clan as a whole. I wanted to recommend the swordsman class that will out-scale the same class of the assassin later on. Since he's someone that listens to me well, he would immediately change classes to a swordsman from my instructions. Though he lacks it now, once he awakens his unique ability, I thought that he would look completely different from his present state. Entangle. This group, that had a high ratio of assassins, the reason why we were able to attain victory straightforwardly was due to the presence of plant magician Jung Hae-yeon. Especially, in this forest, her effectiveness was greatly enhanced. In an instant, tree roots grabbed a hold of the fleeing humans, allowing our clan assassins to rush them fast. Seeing her, I had determined that Jung Hae-yeon was quite crucial to this clan. Thanks to her neutralization magic, cleaning up the rest of the humans became extremely fast. Though there were a few that started to put up resistance, even that minority was quickly defeated. I swung my great sword widely once against them. Kwajik, the 2 humans that broke down, made a grim statement. Inform the city. The city. There's a new monster clan. A new monster clan at Garik. I threw a dagger at the noisy humans, causing them to collapse, clutching their necks. Aside from that, I could continuously hear the wailing of pain and loss. The somewhat strong humans, as if they had either entered the cave already or died, otherwise weren't to be seen. Even after the guy had been pierced with a dagger, whimper of protests here and there continued to echo. Hack. Save. Save me. Kayak. I could see a guy whose body was constricted by a tree root, causing his intestines to burst out of his mouth. It was so putrid that, it even made me, who was fairly strong to those kind of horrific scenes, grimace. Looking over at Jung Hae-yeon, I saw that she was laughing. Those intestines lay arranged in a pile splattered in front of the victim. It was a ridiculously easy battle. It wasn't just me. You couldn't say that these guys were strong, but I was able to realize through this fight that we had gotten much stronger from the time after the tutorial. Wah! For Blood Dagger. I left the Blood Dagger clansmen intoxicated in the victory alone. It doesn't matter even if they jumped around. Since we had entered this road so quickly after investigating the surroundings, there were none able to escape, as most of the humans were lying on the ground, while the rest had already entered the cave. Probably the humans who had fled inside were informing the parties that a new monster clan existed, but it does not matter at this level. I waved at the green-skinned clansmen still drunk in their victory, and as expected, they began to follow me in like dogs. As such, we stepped into the spider cave. A familiar scene welcomed me. The spider webs that were stuck on the walls and also stretched along the ground everywhere, accompanied by those disgusting spider body fluids, it was an entrance larger than I thought. But, the road ahead in which we had to enter was extremely narrow. It seems that the humans do not have to worry about running away. We slowly began to advance. If it were in the case of humans, light magic was needed so that they could see, however for us, our eyes naturally adjusted to the dark setting. Of course it wasn't perfect. But, it was decent enough for us to see and be aware of any potential dangers. So we began to move slowly with me at the front. Finding the humans here were extremely easy. We just had to move towards the light. Not long afterwards, we began to discover a party. Seeing them unperturbed while walking towards the entrance, it seems that the survivors weren't able to inform this party. If they were to have screamed while entering the cave, the summoned would definitely be made aware of the attack, but this act would also in turn call and gather all of the monsters in the dungeon as well. It was an obvious choice, but the summoned that entered the cave prioritized their own lives over the lives of the rest. Probably the ones that have fled in here were looking for parties that made hunting out of a living and prepared to face us. I was beginning to anticipate the battle that will soon transpire. I quietly signaled the 3 goblin siblings of the Loyal 5. I judged that if it were them, they could do it. One was holding a shield, another a long sword, and the last a hammer. I couldn't help but think that they were like assassins from their very cautious movements. It seems that stealth were a special characteristic of the goblin race. Or they could have purposefully obtained and learned that technique. Soon, the 3 goblin siblings confronted those guys. The goblin with the shield was the first to jump in. These agile goblins soon arrived right in front of the guys. The goblins who weren't even half their height suddenly appearing in their sight greatly surprised them. In the end, the goblin who was holding the shield, bashed down the magician with her shield, which quickly followed up with a hammer blow crushing down Girak. The goblin unable to hold in her joy let out a sound. Quajik. Following the sound of a person who couldn't even scream before dying. Fu. CK goblins. Battle. With the magician flattened onto the ground, the light magic that they had sustained suddenly went out, as the cave became dark again, causing screams to screech out. Ahk. The 3 female goblins began to encircle the guys with the perception of them as prey, and the warriors were not able to protect the other party members as they fended for themselves. While after the disappearance of the light magic, the party members were desperately trying to put magic into their eyes, but the tide had already tilted. It was the same behind me. If you consider the previous battle as an act of building experience, then it wouldn't be an exaggeration to call this an assimilation of assassination training. The other goblins that had chosen the path of assassins gathered into groups of 5 as expected and began hunting the human parties that were fighting the large spiders by surprise, as screams began to quickly echo throughout the cave. To be quite honest, to say they were screams were lacking since all of the goblin and hobgoblin assassins were piercing their throats like how they were taught. Girak. Girak. It was a great, successful hunt, as silent, elated voices filled the place as we discovered a large cluster of light. There weren't just 1 or 2 parties here. I decided to monitor the situation from afar first. So what I'm saying is that there's a named monster holding a great sword. So how are we supposed to believe this? In this vicinity, there is only the Green Goblin clan. That's it. For you to suddenly say that a new clan and a named monster appeared. It's more believable for you to rather say that Green Goblin had arrived. You bastard. Are you a murderer perchance? Foo. Fuck, who are you calling a murderer? Can't you see this blood on my clothes? There's the possibility of it being the victim's blood. Stupid fool. Reveal your sins. Foo. Fuck, I don't know. Fuck. I don't know even if we all die. The issue of suspected murderers was the same now or then in the dungeon. The saying, to not trust anyone, other than your own party members in the dungeon, worked quite well for our side. Even the past me wouldn't have believed this bastard, who suddenly appeared drenched in blood, saying such nonsense that a named monster had appeared, so this kind of response was natural. By the way, the range of this light was very large. With this much, it was highly probable that this was a place, where small clans, or beginners that joined large guilds were trained at. Thankfully, there were no strong opponents, that were able to notice our presence from afar. Let's go. With one wave of the hand, the goblins nodded and surged towards the guys with a Karuk. Foo. Fuck, I was right. They're here. You fucking bastards. We're all going to die, fuck. We're all going to die, I tell you. Son of a. Prepare for battle. Prepare for battle. Even though he raised his great sword, our side was extremely quick. Our arrows fired first before his response to prepare for battle was bellowed as they pierced into the faces of the magicians. An attack that couldn't be prepared for. It was definitely pleasing. Koreak. But despite that, the light magic didn't turn off. Naturally, I turned my attention towards the side where the light magic hadn't gone off. I never imagined that I would have met one of my targets for my goal, magic swordsman Kim Dong-hyun, who was able to use magic and the sword coincidentally from his unique ability. Koreung. Before I knew it, I flung my body towards him. Thanks to that, the enemy archer's arrows flew towards me, but the hobgoblins deflected them with their daggers. Qua. Even though I was wielding a great sword while rushing at him, his expression didn't change. Rather, it was an amused expression. I definitely knew that face. The kind of expression that thought that he was one of the chosen ones in this world. A category completely opposite from me in the past. Qua. Although he had awakened his unique ability, but he was still a rookie like us, so one's chances of victory was there. As soon as I swung the large greatsword, a semi-transparent membrane blocked it. Shield. It seems that he could sustain shield while using light magic. But, it seems that his mana wasn't bountiful, as he soon deactivated his shield and took out his sword. I stared at the sword punching towards me directly. It seems that he had invested a lot more into the sword than me. But, I had laid everything down. 10 years of experience. And that large amount of experience, who could compare to that? Soon, I let one hand go of my great sword and deflected his sword with my dagger. Fucking bastard. As if I had blocked the Green Goblin's dagger 3 days ago. Then, with my left hand, I brought my long sword out and slashed it towards him. That semi-transparent membrane appeared instantly. It seems that his casting speed was faster, or that he already had it casted before I slashed my sword. Anyhow, I thought that it would be the latter. Bang! Accompanied the sound as the long sword and shield barrier clashed. Kim Dong-hyun's magic soon broke. Seeing that, I had let go of the long sword. Again, his sword stretched out towards me, but the pattern was the same from before. I quickly lowered my body to evade and extended out my shoulder, charging at him. A sword flying towards me. It was precisely aiming for my chest. It grazed by. With my shoulder armor, I deflected Kim Dong-hyun's attack. Gi-yik. That displeasing, scratching sound onto the steel armor echoed as his body and I collided. That heavy feeling. Kook. That voice spluttered in my ear. Just like that, I bent my back down and swung my great sword down, cutting him in half. Certainly a good taste. I could feel the sensation of him splitting from head to toe. Kareik. I stood there dumbfounded and stared at my hands. I won. It was a battle I couldn't believe despite accomplishing it with my own hands. I started to feel the shock beginning to subside. And then I heard the voice of the one that the green skins called God of Battlefield. TL afterward Woot, first named Strong, down. I wish I could call them rankers for easier classification, but strong is the right terminology. P.S. What could the voice be about? Class change. Possible race evolution. A unique ability. Ooh, the suspense is killer. Comment. Thanks for commenting. Notice. Third regular chapter of the week PR afterward only the strong remain. Translator. Calvi's proofreader. Psi 101.